Disintegrated? What do you mean disintegrated? That's when you become nothing and you're dead.
Yeah, thanks a lot, genius. What he means is that our warlock hasn't even gotten a chance to speak yet, and he's gone. Just gone!
Yeah, I mean, he just joined our group. He wasn't here but like 15 minutes. Yeah, that is kind of sad. I think I might name my axe after him. What was his name again?
We don't know, you idiot! He never said anything!
Wait, look at that! Holy crap, it's a miracle! No, that's not a miracle. That's the Dungeon Master. Welcome to the DM Lair. I'm Luke Hart, and I've been a Dungeon Master since middle school. On this channel, I give practical Dungeon Master advice that you can implement at your game table. Today, I'm going to tell you about a Deus Ex Machina moment I had at my game table about a year or so ago. For those not familiar with the term, it's basically when a seemingly unsolvable problem is suddenly resolved by an unexpected and unlikely occurrence. These solutions usually feel contrived by the Dungeon Master to cover up a mistake they made or to fix the storyline. Generally speaking, I feel like it's best for a Dungeon Master to avoid Deus Ex Machina as it can ruin suspension of disbelief, but it may not always be 100% bad. This is one of my experiences with it. My Sword Coast Guard group is about level 8 or so, and they are in an underground cave and dungeon complex where much of it is submerged underwater. They run into a dragon turtle that is far beyond their pay grade, and they know it. Instead of leaving the creature alone and just moving on to something safer in the dungeon, my players decide to poke at it. Which brings us to DM tip number 1 for this video. Even if you think the players should know better than to mess with an enemy that is clearly more powerful than they are, they still are probably going to mess with it. So, as a dungeon master, you need to be prepared for that, or at least be prepared to improv things. Don't expect them to avoid the creature because you might just get caught with your pants down. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't place high-level monsters in your adventures, because that's actually something that I like to do every so often. Not too often, mind you, because then it will seem like I'm creating an unfair game or something. But a monster that is more than they can handle does 2 things. First, it reminds the players that it's a big world out there, and they will sometimes come across something they can't handle. Second, it presents the opportunity for the players to exercise discretion, or create an interesting situation. So my players start messing with this dragon turtle, and a combat kicks off. Now they know they can't handle it, so most of them start to play a sort of guerrilla warfare, keeping it distracted while one PC swims under the water looking for the dragon turtle's lair. He is of course looking for the treasure hoard, and he finds it, nabbing several magic items and 3 dragon turtle eggs. However, the dragon turtle catches him and is understandably upset, to say the least. However, that player drinks a potion of etherealness and manages to escape. At this point, mission accomplished. The players cast a wall of force to hold the dragon turtle at bay and retreat through the dungeon. Outraged, the dragon turtle begins slamming its bulk against the wall of force, actually shaking the entire underground complex and creating quite the commotion. Now, my first reaction when I saw this unfolding was to prevent the players from making off with the magic items and the eggs without actually having to fight the dragon turtle and win. However, I resisted that urge, and it made for an amazing story that my players remember to this day. You see, when your players come up with a clever plan, execute it perfectly, and make out like bandits, that's a good thing. They feel like heroes and love that they just pulled a fast one on the bad guys. That's often the culmination of fun. If as a dungeon master you put a nix on that and squash their clever accomplishments flat, you might very well be breaking your players' hearts. And that's the last thing you want to do. Besides, don't you think it made for some awesome future adventures as the dragon turtle sought revenge on the heroes and tried to reclaim her eggs? You're dang right it did!
Hello there! Are you looking for really cool and inexpensive D&D shirts and hoodies? Like $15 for a shirt and $25 a hoodie? Well, then you need to check out Gorilla Tees. They have a large selection of D&D t-shirts and hoodies. And even hats! And they have lots of other cool non-Dungeons & Dragons stuff. Ooh. Brr. Luke, I'm your father. And you can even get 15% off when you use the Barbarian promo code, the DM Lair.
Now, a massive dragon turtle slamming into the walls of the cavern and screaming about thieves is sure to alert the other denizens of the dungeon, don't you think? So, the heroes continue exploring and run into a few Sahuagin and sharks, kicking off a fight. Now, things don't seem quite too bad until in round 2, Sahuagin reinforcements arrive from the north. And then, in round 3, the four-armed Sahuagin chieftain and Sahuagin priestess arrive. That's when things get really bad. Aren't you guys proud of me? I did not say chieftain there. I actually said chieftain. That's pretty good, right? Now, it's about this time that one of the players decides to have his rogue break away from the battle and go exploring deeper into the Sahuagin tunnels. And wouldn't you know it, he runs into a lot more Sahuagin who joined the combat. Now, that Sahuagin ambush was intended to be brutal, but I was intentionally holding back on their full number so that my players would at least stand a chance. And then the rogues player wanted to go waking up more enemies. And that's what I want to talk about briefly. This was like the first time he had done something like this, but then it happened at least 2 more times after that. Now, in this case, the other players demanded to know why he was doing that, and we received the standard defense when a player does something that everyone else at the table objects to. It's what my character would do. Or, some other role-playing justification. Now, one may doubt the accuracy of those claims, but I won't belabor the point. I'm rarely a dungeon master to deny player agency, but when I saw the effect it was having on my other players, they were legitimately pissed. How many times is it that that player is going to pull something like that in the middle of a fight, intentionally leaving the area in the middle of a combat to go exploring and wake up more enemies? For the sake of the group, I had to step in and speak with the player outside of the game. And it turned out just fine. He agreed to curb that behavior, and I don't think it's been an issue since. So, the next time you have issues with a player, I strongly suggest ignoring the horrible advice of kill the player's character that you might often hear and instead try talking to the player. You might be surprised at how effective it is. So the Sahuagin battle is getting really nasty, and fortunately for the players, a new player to the group arrives to the game session at that point. Now, he had misunderstood the start time for the game and arrived a little late after the combat had kicked off. So, being the benevolent dungeon master that I am, I didn't want him to sit the fight out. So, I had his Paladin arrive to the combat, placing him near the four-armed Sahuagin king and Sahuagin priestess. The Paladin charged in to attack the king, who reciprocated and did some serious damage to the Paladin. Then, the Sahuagin priestess casts a spell. Disintegrate. The Paladin is the best target, but again, being the benevolent dungeon master that I am, I roll a die in front of my players to decide who the target would be, and it still falls to the Paladin. The green ray reaches out to the holy warrior, who promptly fails his saving throw and is disintegrated into a fine dust. Now, if you're familiar with Disintegrate, you'll know that only the True Resurrection or Wish spell can bring the Paladin back. I kill a brand new player's character literally within 15 minutes of his arriving to the game session, and for all intents and purposes, he is permanently dead. Wow, did I feel like horribly scummy? A new player arrives, all excited to play D&D, and boom, you're dead. Nice job, Luke. So, the Sahuagin battle continues, and on the Paladin's turn, I begin to describe to him his journey to the afterlife. First, he is drawn to the Fugue Plain, where he congregates with other fellow worshippers of Helm, joining them in songs of praise to their deity. Then, Helm himself arrives on a flying chariot, collecting his dead faithful in his wake to take them off to their eternal rewards. As they fly away, Helm glances back, and his eyes fall on the Paladin. "Didn't I just see you ordained to combat evil?" Helm asks. "Surely you haven't finished your business with the living quite yet." And the player answers, "No, in fact I haven't." "Then return and finish it," Helm booms, waving his hand at the Paladin. Back in the Sahuagin compound, the Paladin suddenly appears right where he had fallen, weapons in hand, at full health, and ready to rock and roll. And the Paladin then goes on to play a pivotal role in helping the others defeat the Sahuagin. So what can I say? I felt guilty as crap, and I brought the player's Paladin back to life. It was unequivocally a Deus Ex Machina moment, even though a cool and memorable story came of it. Now, this wasn't something I did lightly, and it's the only time I've ever done something like that. But I don't know, was it justified? Was it the right thing to do? What about you? Have you had a Deus Ex Machina moment as a dungeon master, or experienced one from your own dungeon master? And was it justified, or did it just sort of ruin things for you? If you want to hear about a time one of my players stole a horse and how it almost caused our entire campaign to implode, click this video right here. And until next time, let's play D&D.